What up, guys? Welcome to Bleav in Rams, part of the Bleav Network. Erin Coscarelli back with you. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, follow this podcast. You can catch us on Bleav TV. We're on social. We've got so much to get to. Thank God I'm joined by my partner in crime, Tyler Dragon of USA Today, who looks like you've gotten some good ample sleep. I don't know. Are you getting good sleep with what the Rams have been doing the last couple weeks?
A little bit. I mean, it's been a crazy free agency period, and technically, it's the unofficial time with free agency. It's legal tampering period. Free agents can actually sign these contracts and make it official beginning on Wednesday. But it's been wild, especially for the Rams, as we're getting into in this episode.
Yeah, we have a lot to get to, a lot of moves, like Tyler was saying. We'll get you the very latest free agent signings. What does it mean for the other guys on the team? Does all of this action mean that the Rams are a top 3 offense in the NFL? Plus, what the rest of the division is up to, Tyler. Some of these things that the other teams are doing, a bit of a head scratcher. And we've got a Tyler Dragon mock draft. Before we get into the show, got a pair of sponsors really quickly. Bet Online, by the way, is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan, a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. Largest selection of odds on everything NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. Bet Online continues to be your number one sports betting source. Check it out, guys. Bet Online, the game starts here. All right. The Rams have been busy in free agency. Let's break down the very latest because, of course, obviously we want to get to the Davante Adams monster free agency signing. But there's been other things that the Rams have done, and I want to get your take on what this all means, okay? Mm-hmm. So they added one of the better interior defensive linemen on the market in Poona Ford. On day one, on Monday, free agency, certainly a guy that looks to upgrade the defensive line. He was PFF's 5th best interior defender last season, 3rd best in stopping the run. He spent last season with the Chargers, and the Rams obviously know him from his time with the Seahawks. What does this Poona Ford signing mean? This obviously means D tackle Bobby Brown signs with the Panthers. He is gone. Poona is here. What does this mean for a guy like Braden Fisk? And when you heard that they went in to sort of bolster the trenches, they also got a guy on the O-line, which we'll mention in a moment. But I want you to tell me what you think of this Poona signing.
Yeah, first of all, I love the signing. When I look at Poona Ford, saw him a lot last year with the Chargers, kind of revitalized his career and had an excellent season. There were multiple teams that wanted Poona's services, and the Rams swooped in and got him. I think this is one of the underrated, under the radar best moves of free agency thus far. I mean, he's the type of player who plays that one technique defensive tackle, or he can even be a nose tackle in the Rams 3-4 defense. And so I don't think it means necessarily much as for a Braden Fisk, because he's kind of that 3 technique defensive tackle, plays outside the guard. So when you look at what Poona Ford can do, he's a big body in the middle. He really good at stopping the run, can rush the passer a little bit in the interior. But in my opinion, he's an upgrade from Bobby Brown. So this is a really good signing from the Rams. And it was surprising that they got him, especially with that number as well. But I really, really like the move. He should start right away for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, this is also coming off Bobby Brown being a little disgruntled with the team, with certain roles that he had with the team. And the Rams are moving on from him and bringing in a guy like Poona. It just says a lot of things about their hopes for the young defense this upcoming season. So that's exciting. Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side of the ball, he returns as Stafford's backup. Looks like his deal includes $4.5 million guaranteed, $9 million in incentives, a max value of $13.5 million. This is something like an incentive-based deal. How did you feel about them bringing Jimmy G back?
Yeah, it tells me that the Rams aren't sold on some of the middle tier quarterbacks in the draft that are going to be there in the mid to late rounds. And you bring a Jimmy Garoppolo in. Something happens to Stafford, we hope not, of course. But if he gets nicked up or has to miss the game or two, you have a veteran quarterback who's been in some big moments, his experience, can hold down the fort while Stafford is sidelined. And that's what you want as a backup quarterback. You want things to, be calm when they are coming in, and you don't want chaos and don't want to change your playbook tremendously. And so when a player like Jimmy Garoppolo, you can look around the backup quarterbacks all around the National Football League, and he's one of the better ones around. So I think it's a good, solid move for the Rams. Add depth behind Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and Lord forbid if something happens to Stafford, you have a Jimmy Garoppolo in that can hold things down for a while.
We'll talk about the draft momentarily, but this leads me to my next question about the draft. Are the Rams at this point with this signing, does this mean they're going to look to bring in a young guy in the draft, maybe in the later rounds?
So to me, it signals that they're not going to invest a high draft pick on a quarterback the first 2-3 rounds, but it does give an indication that they could, poke around in the middle rounds to late rounds for a quarterback, or just wait to next year since you have Garoppolo under contract for the year. And then next year's quarterback class, quite honestly, I believe is better than this year's quarterback class from top to bottom. I said that in last episode, and I still believe it. And people from the NFL Combine, from talking to scouts in Indianapolis, they are very high on next year's quarterback draft class from a depth standpoint. At the top this year, it's decent when you have a player like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, but after those two guys, there's a drop off, in my opinion. So when you look at what the Rams want to do, they know they have Stafford for the next few years. But when you look at the backup quarterback position, you probably want a younger guy in there, but that can wait a little bit, I think, to next year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this is what the Rams do that's very smart. They don't take high-risk picks. They're not desperate. And if they find somebody that falls to them, that Sean McVay likes, then maybe in the later rounds. But like you said, they're not trying to hit home runs. They're trying to hit singles and doubles. And I think they're doing a very good job at making themselves comfortable and insulated with that choice by sort of protecting themselves. Like you said, Jimmy Garoppolo, interesting decision to stay with the backup in Jimmy G. If they find somebody in the draft, like you said, Tyler Dragon, if the Rams are not impressed, there's not a lot of guys, they may look to make that decision next season. LA also reached an agreement, a reunion with Coleman Shelton. He was playing with the Bears most recently. And my question for you, a lot of people liked this because he's coming back to a team he's familiar with. Is this depth or is this competition for Bo Limmer? What do you think?
So this is one of those moves that screams depth, in my opinion. I mean, you can't go wrong in free agency by getting depth pieces. It doesn't move the needle, in my opinion. It is a reunion, so he's familiar with Sean McVay, the Rams system, their culture. So it's a solid move overall. It didn't move the needle, but the Rams don't have to move the needle at every free agency period. They already did with Davante Adams, and you can make a case they moved the needle with Poona Ford as well.
Yep. Okay. Tomorrow marks the beginning of a new league year. And the Rams, in association with that, are planning to release wide receiver Cooper Kupp if they can, in fact, find a trade partner. That, according to Adam Schefter. So we'll stay on the up and up if, in fact, they can find a trade partner before the deadline. But, of course, all of that comes after news on Monday that the team agreed to sign six-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Davante Adams. 2-year deal, $46 million. Apparently, Davante was in Japan at the time. And Sean McVay made a hard recruit to try to get him. And obviously very happy with the result of the trade. I haven't really had a chance to pick your brain. I know it's been all over the news. You obviously love this. It seems like it's a no-brainer now that Davante is a Ram. How do we feel about it, Tyler?
So shout out to Davante Adams in Japan, probably sipping on some Mai Tais, having some sushi. I've been in Japan before, Tokyo to be exact. Wonderful city. I don't know if he was in Tokyo or not, but Japan, wonderful sushi. But anyways, that
Sushi's amazing there, obviously.
yes, very, very good. For Davante, obviously, this was one of the best moves of free agency, if not the best. He was the number one free agent on my board when the Jets released him. He's 33 years old. He's not probably the Davante Adams of old, the prolific receiver, but in my opinion, he's still a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League. He's 1 year older than Cooper Kupp, but he has a lot more left in the tank, and that's not a knock against Kupp. Kupp has had a lot of miles in that body, a lot of injuries, especially to hamstring, ankle, a lot of injuries to the lower extremities. So that wears on you, that takes a toll on your body, and that obviously can slow you down a little bit. And I think Cooper Kupp is suffering the effects of all those injuries and what he's meant to the Rams. I mean, he's been an invaluable piece, one of the, you could say, top 5, top 3 Rams receiver in history, Cooper Kupp. So he's going to be in the Rams Ring of Honor when it's all said and done. So you want to respect that. But I do believe the Rams are going to have to release him. They're not going to be able to find a trade partner to absorb that salary when everybody knows that if the Rams don't trade him, they're going to release him. So it just seems like it's a formality. The Rams are going to part ways with Kupp and just release him and not find a trade partner. But to replace Kupp with a Davante Adams is an upgrade. And really, when you look at throughout their entire career, Kupp has never been a better receiver than Davante Adams, despite him being 1 year younger. And he still isn't. And so from a business standpoint, from a style standpoint, from a football standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. Davante Adams is still a number 1 type receiver. And with the Rams, he doesn't really have to be because you have a Puka Nacua. This is going to help the Rams be versatile in offense. Davante Adams is brilliant running intermediate routes. Puka Nacua is good at running short intermediate routes as well. So it's going to wreak havoc for opposing defenses, having those 2 receivers on the outside, possibly a Tutu Atwell in the inside playing slot. That's your deep threat. So I see the Rams receiving corps forming beautifully with those 3 receivers. You still have a Jordan Whittington, who's a solid depth piece for the Rams. So I love this addition for the LA Rams. They made their wide receiving corps even more explosive, adding a Davante Adams, arguably the best move in free agency.
Ooh, for both sides. I have so many questions to now stack within the realm of the Davante Adams discussion. First of all, Cooper this isn't necessarily a replacement because their style of game wasn't exactly the same. I have a question with regards to that. Cooper was a block type wide receiver. He definitely got in with blocking. Do you see Davante Adams being a part of that role in the offense?
So Cooper Kupp was a better blocking wide receiver than Davante Adams. Always has been, still is. He played primarily in the slot. Cooper in his prime could play all over, but he was thrived in the slot. And even you could run jet sweeps with him. Remember in the Super Bowl against the Bengals, ran that jet sweep on that crucial 4th down play, got the yard. I mean, Cooper in his prime was a superstar wide receiver who could do everything. But at this point in his career, his blocking has taken a step back. He's still a above average blocker for a receiver. Davante Adams, I mean, he'll get his nose dirty a little bit blocking, but he's not known to be a blocking wide receiver. He's going to play on the outside primarily and win with his route running ability. He has sure hands as well. He's always been one of the best route runners in the National Football League. Is he a burner? No. Is he a deep threat? No, but he can run deep. He's lost maybe a half a step with his speed, but he wins with his route running ability still and his football IQ. He's going to be able to run option routes just like a Cooper Kupp. He's going to be able to win and create separation like Cooper Kupp did back in his heyday. And so it is a good – they do different things. But when it's all said and done, though, Davante Adams at this point in his career is better than Cooper Kupp. And, I mean, arguably he's been better than Cooper Kupp throughout his entire career.
Yeah, I think he's had 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He's only missed 3 games in 3 years. Cooper hasn't been able to stay healthy for an entire season since 21. And even though there is a 6-month age difference, in fact, it's not a full year. Davante's 6 months, but a lot of people would ask the question, Davante Adams getting paid $26 million, Tutu Atwell getting paid $10 million. You're dedicating $36 million to 2 wideouts as opposed to $20 million to just one guy. Because a lot of people are saying that maybe Cooper could stay, although we've heard that is a least likely option from both the head coach and the GM. So now my question for you is, with the Davante Adams ad, does this make the Rams a top 3 offense in the NFL?
Top 3 offense in the NFL. Well, you have the Philadelphia Eagles. You still got the Ravens to contend with. And you have to believe the Bengals are going to be better if they can keep their receiving corps together. The Bills should be up there. I mean, I'll say on paper, they should have a top 5-ish offense. You still need to solidify that offensive line. But the receiving corps, you can make a case that they're top 3 in the NFL with the Davante Adams and the Puka Nacua. On paper, they have a top 3 receiving corps in the NFL. But the jury's still out on a top 5 offense. I mean, I would like to see them bolster the offensive line a little bit. We'll see if, Tyler Higbee can return to the form at the tight end level. But on paper, this Rams team is better than last year. And that's huge news because this Rams team went to the divisional round of the playoffs and gave the Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, a run for their money in the snow, I might add.
Yeah. And you have to say, if Davante was on the team last year, we would maybe have a different result in that game in Philadelphia. So you're absolutely right. I this is why I love working with you, because as much as this is a Rams show, you got to feed it to us truthfully, honestly, authentically, and bringing up all of those other teams. I mean, we haven't seen what Davante Adams can do. We all are speculating here, right? So it's like, it's fun for us to throw out these catchy headlines. But until we see everybody, and like you mentioned, although I think the offensive line is being put together really well, and Sean McVay got a lot out of rookie Bo Limmer. And they're just trying to bolster. Remember, guys, the big issue for the team last year was injuries. It really wasn't talent. It was more injuries. And when you have guys missing reps, you're not gelling. You're not giving your best players an opportunity to get in and feel comfortable. So that, to me, was a big reason why the team stuttered, certainly in the beginning part of the season. A lot of catchy headlines are around this question as well, with the Davante Adams and all these other big moves like Puna and what you're seeing throughout the trenches. Is this Super Bowl or bust for the Rams this year?
I don't believe it's Super Bowl or bust. I mean, you signed Davante Adams to a 2-year deal. Matthew Stafford's in full for the next few seasons. I do think it's playoff or bust. I mean, you cannot miss the playoffs after last year winning the NFC West and signing Davante Adams, extend a Stafford. You still have Kyron Williams. You have a solid defense with the addition of Puna Ford. You have to make the playoffs. And I would make a case you have to win the NFC West, especially when you see what's going on in San Francisco. It's been a mass exodus of talent. I know they're probably going to get younger, John Lynch said. And then Seattle changing the quarterback position with a Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. That's kind of a lateral move, in my opinion. Then the Arizona Cardinals, we'll see what happens with them. They did add a Josh Sweat. I do think that's a big move for them. But what can they do offensively? Is Kyler Murray going to ever, take that next step? Marvin Harrison Jr., can he have a better season? So when you look at the Rams on paper, top to bottom, especially after what they did last year, I do Bleav that they are the team to beat in the division. So it is NFC West division title, playoffs or bust. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a disappointing season considering what they have done already in free agency on the heels of last year and examining what the other teams in the division are doing.
Absolutely. Do they still target a wide receiver in the draft?
So in my mock draft, I had Matthew Golden actually going to the Rams. In my next mock draft, I probably won't target a receiver just because of what the Rams have done since that mock draft came out with the Tutu Atwell re-signing of Davante Adams. To me, maybe offensive line. I can see a tight end if Loveland falls, or even continue to address that edge rushing room. I really do think they can get better in that department as well, or defensive back. So I'm leaning more towards defense now that the Rams have addressed some offensive needs in free agency.
The last question I'll ask about this whole Davante Adams stuff, and this one's really scandalous. Okay, ready for it?
Okay, I'm ready.
Who gets the number 17 jersey? Did you hear about this? Puka said that he's going to play a game of pig. That's amazing, by the way. How does this scandal go down? Number 17 jersey gate.
So I can see Davante saying, this may be my last stop, my last hurrah. So I'm going to wear a different number to kind of bow on out with a, different number, kind of reinvent myself. And then on the other side, I could see Puka Nacua saying, Davante, you were one of my idols growing up, the receiver I looked up to, kind of padding my game after. So I want to give this to you and wear a different number myself. So I can see this going both ways. It's real interesting to figure out what the two receivers are going to decide to do. But they've already spoken with each other, even though Davante's in Japan. I know that maybe a topic came up, so it's going to be intriguing to see. I know I didn't answer your question. I can see it going both ways, though.
I mean, it's always weird when that happens, right? When you get a big name player and he's got, some history with a number, and then he goes to a team. I mean, I don't know how necessarily common this is, because now Puka's, who's the clear number one wide receiver in that room now?
To me, it's still Puka Nacua. He's had a report with Stafford for the last 2 years. And Davante's coming in, has to learn the system, get chemistry with Stafford. And so that's going to take some time. You think it's going to be a seamless transition because both of those players are experienced and they've been in the league for a while. But to me, Puka Nacua is still the number one wide receiver in the Rams. And Davante's a 1B, a very, very good 1B.
Listen, I don't even know how fantasy players are going to feel about this, because it's like, you have a 1A, 1B. They're both studs, and time will tell to see, who creates more production on the offense. If you're a fantasy, do you play fantasy? I feel like you do.
I do play fantasy. I won last year. So
how many leagues are you in?
I'm in 2. Okay. I was in 2. We'll see how many leagues I'm in this year. I never do more than 2, but in one of my leagues I won, and in the other league I finished last. So you never know. You never know in fantasy.
Well, it's sometimes when I'm behind the 8 ball, like 4 weeks go by and I'm not winning, I kind of bail. I don't know if you jump ship on your drafts.
You can't bail. You never know what's going to happen. You never know.
You never know. Okay. Well, as we wrap this episode up, today is what? Is today Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. The new league year begins tomorrow. Maybe some interesting nuggets from the Rams will drop in before then. But just to kind of wrap things up, you mentioned it already. The NFC West made some head-scratching moves, swapping Geno for Sam Darnold. Not sure how you felt about that. We kind of talked about it. Seattle also traded DK to the Steelers, moving on from Tyler Lockett. And then in San Francisco, the 49ers traded Debo to the Commanders. So, I think clearly the biggest competitor for the Rams, depending on the other moves made by the other teams in the division, I would say the Cardinals at this point feel like the biggest threat. But when you hear about some of these moves these other teams make in the division, what are you thinking?
So I know everybody's out on the 49ers because they've had pretty much a mass exodus of talent, especially in the defensive side of the football. But to me, they're preparing for Brock Purdy's contract extension. I'm hearing rumors that they're going to get Joey Bosa to pair on the other side of Nick Bosa. So you're going to have a solid edge rushing room. And you still have Brandon Ayuk at receiver and George Kittle, Chris McCaffrey. If those players can stay healthy, Trent Williams also at left tackle, if everybody can stay healthy, the 49ers are still a legitimate team that's a threat in the NFC West and a playoff contender. Now, injuries, that's the big question mark. This team was decimated by injuries last year. That's the sole reason why they weren't in the playoffs. So I still Bleav the 49ers are a bona fide playoff team if they can stay healthy. The mass exodus of talent, I'm talking about, Hufanga, Tre'Davious Cardavius Ward, When you look at those players leaving, Greenlaw, that's a lot. But the 49ers are going to go younger. They're going to lose experience, but maybe get younger, more athletic at those positions. And I think they'll be fine. When I look at the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know what they're doing. It looks like they're rebuilding. DK's gone. I mean, you still have, Jackson Smith and Jigba at receiver. But to me, it's kind of a lateral move to part ways with Geno Smith and get Sam Darnold. You've got a suspect offensive line. I don't really get what they're up to. And then when I look at the other team in the division, Arizona Cardinals, I it's hard for me to Bleav in the Cardinals because I've seen the Cardinals, have some play well, but it's all like empty calories. They just falter at the end. So it's just like, what are you going to do? Like, okay, Cardinals, until you actually do something and maintain the level of success that you need and have some consistency, I just can't Bleav in you. I just want to see Marvin Harrison Jr. play like he's capable of. I know he had kind of a solid rookie year, but didn't live up to expectations. And Kyler Murray, it's been kind of up and down tenure with him in Arizona. You hope he can, get to the Kyler Murray of old after that knee injury. But to me, it's the Rams and the 49ers still in the NFC West. Those are the Class 2 teams.
Yep. Yeah. And you have Shanahan as your coach. They're just a professional organization that consistently has been able to show why they belong in the upper echelon of sports, because last year was an abominable, what is it? An anomaly, whatever it is. Anomaly. Thank you very much. I still haven't. I'm looking for my second cup of coffee, so I'm still on fumes here. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Last year, it was very uncharacteristic of what the Niners had to go through. But nonetheless, there's been so much action, especially here in LA. That'll do it for us, Erin Coscarelli, Tyler Dragon of Bleav in Rams. We'll bring you more of the very latest in the next next week or two. We'll come back. And you know what? I think since Tyler Dragon is going to be doing another mock draft, we're going to just have to dedicate a show purely to your mock draft, since now number 26 spot is changing and is no longer a wide receiver.
Sure.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for joining us. For Erin and Ty, we'll see you later.
Happy new league year.
Whoop, whoop.